anti-fracking protesters have set up a camp in North Yorkshire near the site, which is expected to be the first in the country to extract gas. They say they'll use it as a base to stop lorries delivering equipment needed to build the new wellhead in the next few weeks.
Outside the gates, they have little faith. So concerned are they about the potential impact on the environment, they're prepared to risk arrest.
Most people go about their daily business and they're not affected or they're not moved in such a way as to take this sort of action. But having gone through the process of trying to get your views felt, and given the threat of thousands of wells across Rydale, many people feel they've got no choice but to take this action.
We have to make every step we can to try and stop fracking here, because it's something no one really wants. I don't think these policemen want it either.
As we filmed, this protester was moved off by police. More followed. Some refused to move easily. Others clearly emotional at the ordeal.
No fracking anywhere!
It was always going to be tense.
No fracking anywhere!
Over 100 protesters blockaded the site entrance this morning, among them many locals who'd never been involved in direct action before.
Well, the people who were blocking the entrance have now all been removed and pushed back past that area of police vans. It's understood so far nobody's been arrested, but in its place, as you can see now, is really, well, a wall of force from North Yorkshire Police. Moments later, perhaps sensing something, a section of the crowd seemed to push forward.
Now, this was the moment this morning when he was caught between two police vans and led away by the officers. He was then turned around and put up against one of the vans. Now, he has, as I say, been released in the last few minutes without charge from Fulford Police Station.
I was arrested today at a peaceful gathering of the community on Third Energy's first day of work. I was arrested for obstruction of PC. I feel resilient that I'm out. I'm ready to go back to the front line tomorrow. You may even see me back at the police station tomorrow evening.
Under what was by now tight security, the first truck arrived with a police escort. We've seen the first truck go through now. Does it still feel worthwhile to you?
It strengthens my belief to stop this industry, so much so that I've even moved my home outside the gate to fight this industry.
Bastard, what are you? No, get off my being officer! Get off my being now! Assault, that is.
That is not reasonable! We have a right to know what we have a right to
It has been a fraught day. Now, as you can see, the police have left and the majority of the protesters have also returned either to the camp up the road or to their homes. There are still a few who will camp out outside the well site overnight. Most that have been here today have said that they will be back tomorrow.
And at the fracking site today, another tactic, so-called locking on. Protesters chained to a heavy weight. Special equipment is needed to release them.
What else have we been left with? We were told that our only right to protest was to stand on the verge and wave a placard. That's not going to do it, is it? So we've escalated, and we'll be here till as long as it takes.
She's welfare. She's welfare. She's welfare.
Stop breaking my arm!
Excuse me?
You said we could stay there as part of welfare. You said we could stay there as part of welfare.
She's a welfare.
You said...
So this is North Yorkshire Police arresting the elected welfare officer.
Put your hands on me.
What's going on here, officers? So this is the police targeting filming again. He's disabled. Just cool down, officer.
Final call this morning comes from Eddie, who is with us on the line. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on.
Not at all.
I'm at the gates of the KM8 fracking site with a lot of local people who are very confused, and we have a question for the Chief Constable. What is his personal definition of peaceful protest?
Well, the definition that we are utilising is the fact that a peaceful protest is anything that does not cause serious damage, disorder or disruption, which would come from our GOLD strategy.
Yesterday I was arrested for riding a bicycle. There was a serious disruption in that. I stood with my bike to watch the lorry go past, and I was arrested for obstruction of the highway, held in a police van for 3 hours, and then held in the cells until 8 o'clock at night.
Chief Constable.
You've got mail.
Well, I think one thing, peaceful protest is different from whether or not you've been in relation to the law in relation to obstruction of the highway. I won't get into individual circumstances because I'm sure if you've got concerns around that, you'll want that looked into, and clearly we will look into it.
Eddie?
Do you remember the work of the suffragettes, of Gandhi and of Martin Luther King, who used direct action, non-violent direct action, to gain some of the civil liberties that we enjoy today? Those are our cultural heroes. I want to know what side he thinks history will judge him.
That's a fair enough question. How's history going to judge you?
I think history will judge me, hopefully like most other police officers who put themselves to protect the public. We took an oath to uphold people's rights, and that's what our determination will be to do, to uphold everybody's rights. Those rights, though, cannot influence and impact on other people in a way that is disproportionate and unlawful.
Eddie, do you feel that's how North Yorkshire Police are acting at the moment?
Absolutely not. There's CPS guidelines to police officers, and there is High Court case law that states, along with our human rights, that protests can cause disruption. I mean, that's the point of protest. It's not standing on the side of the road waving a banner. And North Yorkshire Police have openly stated yesterday that they will not facilitate that right.
This is where we go back to the point I made earlier on about certain conventions that do give people the right to protest even if it causes disruption. Do you not accept that some of the actions that you're taking are denying people that right? I think that's the point that Eddie's making.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that there is a balance between everybody's rights here, and that the police service finds itself in the middle of this, and our role is to make sure that we balance that as best we can, that it's proportionate and justified. And I've spent most of my service trying to make sure that I protect people and they have the ability to carry out their rights. And I'm not sure whether or not me and Eddie will ever agree on some of this.
I think you're probably right, Eddie.
Chief, why don't you come down the gate and see for yourself? In Lancashire, they sent the big boy down, and he was appalled what his police officers were doing.
Do you think you'd be appalled if you saw what your officers were doing at Kirby Misperton?
No, I don't.
A police officer wearing gloves, hooking an arm around a fracking protester at Kirby Misperton. He was doing nothing illegal, but was pulled backwards. He banged his head on the ground and was left feeling shocked.
It's the first time I've ever been on a protest in my life. I found myself being pulled over backwards and staying up at the sky, and then I saw a police officer force his way through, and it's just not what I was expecting. I was expecting him to be sort of, excuse me sir, can you just move forwards and this kind of thing, but obviously just decided to force his way through.
The policing is being heavy-handed, it's disproportionate, they're not allowing people to demonstrate in an appropriate way. They change the tactics every single day, so people don't know where they stand.
Yesterday, I think, was one of the saddest days I have ever experienced in my little neck of the woods. To see 50 or 60 policemen gathered on this road, stopping perfectly ordinary people like myself from having our countryside trashed, is something I can't describe, the visceral sadness of it all.
I don't know who's paying for the policing of this operation down here. I'm sure it's coming out of North Yorkshire Police's budget. I've seen and counted this morning over 70 police officers and a handful of people, some local who I've recognised immediately, and I put my head in my hands when I see local police officers pitched against the local community.
Wednesday morning, the 25th of October. Good morning, Jonathan Count with you. Through till noon today, the figures for August and September show that the cost of policing the fracking protest at Kirby Misperton has reached £200,000.
All that for two little vans? What? 1, 2... Well done, that worked, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 police vehicles for two little... What's going on?
So this is North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service. Their vehicle has been commandeered by Inspector Fenton because he says the man over there is obstructing the highway. So the fire service is having to deploy its fire officers and its vehicle, but they're refusing to actually go up to remove the man. That's going to be down to the police to do.
We need to restrict the numbers of well pads and put them in the right locations so that the traffic doesn't go through our villages and down our country lanes.
Is this what it looks like when fracking comes through Yorkshire Village? Look at this.
Right. You should be proud of yourself. I'm sure you wouldn't let this happen where you live, would you? Disgrace, absolute disgrace.
I can't even get in the picture how big this thing is. Look, it can't get around this corner. This is Suzanne, who lives in the village, being told that she's not allowed to go back to her house.
I'm not saying... You are saying that. All right, so I'll go back to my house, yeah? Yeah? I'll go back to my house. You're going to walk me to my house? Yeah. That's it, yeah? It's disgraceful. I was told that no disruption in my village. What have you done?
This is the rig coming in now. I'm really fucking sorry, everybody. I couldn't do anything. There it goes. Shame on you guys, you're doing the wrong thing. You're really doing the wrong thing. Come on, get down here, all you people that watch the videos, you need to be here.
Shame on us! Do you put your hands on me? Do not put your hands on me!
Leave her alone. You can't. Please calm down. Leave her alone. Look at you all.
Forward. Side the road, please.
I don't know what this equipment is. Rental power compact. We've got a lubbers with 2 big containers, another lubbers and another lubbers. So
It's fine, thank you. You're moving, please.
look at what difficulty they have getting round. This is rural. There's no place for these here. Tiny little lanes. Sickening.
More people are coming out showing their opposition to fracking, showing that they are determined to do something to stop it. What's really interesting is that we've got hundreds of wells planned for this region, so if we've got one frack happening here possibly in the next week or so, what's it going to be like when we've got hundreds of wells all being faced by the same fierce opposition?
A lone protester in the driving rain preventing this lorry from making its journey to the fracking site.
3 anti-fracking protesters have scaled a 60-foot high rig at Kirby Misperton in North Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Kirby Misperton and around. Thank you so much for the flapjacks.
The 3 protesters breached security at this site during the hours of darkness. North Yorkshire Police say this has turned a peaceful protest into a deliberate unlawful act.
These people have been forced into this as a last resort. They've taken civil disobedience because they've had to take responsibility for protecting this area. We've campaigned hard to stop fracking in this area and we've been ignored at every stage of the process.
Sorry about the quality. your elbow.
Well, over the last 2 weeks or so, these gates have seen all manner of protests, human blockades, arrests, police cordons aimed at trying to get works lorries safely past the protesters and onto site. And if you look to my left here, you can still, even at this time of day, there's still a line of tents of protesters digging in, camping out at the gates here. Until now, though, we've never seen what's going on behind those barriers. Today, all of that changed.
If you have a look at the early planning we did from a long way back, we are very much on schedule for completing all parts before the end of the year.
So there'll be fracking here by Christmas?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
There is still one potential hurdle that Third Energy have to leap before they can start those test fracks here, and that's final sign-off from the government. Although listening to the way the company's talking today, they seem to regard that as a formality.
Well, these are the accounts for Third Energy UK Gas Limited for 2015. These were submitted very late, and we're waiting for the 2016 version, which are also very late. These are real concerns when this is the company that's going to be doing the fracking in an industry that the government has categorically told us is going to be soundly regulated.
2016's accounts may be nearly 3 months late, but 2015's financial statements make fascinating reading. The company that wants to frack, Third Energy UK Gas, is owned by Third Energy Holdings, and that's based in the tax-friendly Cayman Islands. The North Yorkshire business turned over less than £500,000 in 2015 from its extraction of natural gas at Kirby Misperton, yet its accounts show it owes over £50 million to fellow companies within the Third Energy family. As for the late accounts, they're apparently in the preparation phase. But at the gates of the fracking site today, some light relief from financial matters. A visit by Tibetan monks saying a prayer for the land. The government still has to give its approval for test fracking to go ahead. It's now likely to be the new year before we find out if the monks' prayer to stop it has worked.
There will be no hydraulic fracturing at the site until the government gives the go-ahead, which Third Energy say could take some time.
We're almost at 2 years since the council gave permission. They still haven't done it, and it sounds like they're not going to be doing it for a long while yet.
The company Third Energy is still waiting for final consent from the government and has moved some equipment off the site.
A particular situation around Third Energy in terms of its financial situation, and the Secretary of State wants to make sure that this company can afford to do the work properly.
After months of makeshift living, anti-fracking protesters are dismantling their field camp at Kirby Misperton, satisfied for the moment that fracking will not be happening here anytime soon. They've pledged to clear the site completely. And on the frack site itself, more packing up. This time it's Third Energy, removing fracking equipment they'd set up, ready to frack as soon as they got the go-ahead from the government.
They've moved a lot of equipment on, which has sat there idle, and now they've moved it off again. Community pressure has brought about scrutiny into their finances, which are now being looked at by the government and Greg Clark, which we know to be in a dire state, and we know this company aren't fit to frack.
So is it game over for the fracking industry here in North Yorkshire? Well, no one can say that for certain. What we're seeing perhaps is half-time. The players are leaving the pitch, but the match is not over yet.